Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chronicles of Hollywood History, past, present, and future. Welcome. And here now, Corey Gomez.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Chronicles of Hollywood History, past, present, and future. Today I am joined by stuntman and actor. You know him from Planet of the Apes, How High, Death to Smoochie, all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I like him personally the best in Cradle to the Grave. I am joined today by Marty Klebba. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Cool. Thank you for having me, boss.
Hey, my pleasure. I am not kidding. I totally dug you as the announcer in Cradle to the Grave. I love that movie.
Oh, thank you.
What was it?
Yeah, that was a fun one. That and Scrubs was also fun to do, too. So
You've done a lot of cool. You've worked with a lot of cool people.
yeah, I have. It's kind of cool. It's a big life experience, and you never know who you're going to end up, working with on any given day. So, God is good, I guess.
So I guess I have to ask, like I ask everybody, how did you get started in the business?
I was I did theater back in high school, and then after high school, I went to New York, and I worked for Radio City and Madison Square Garden, doing tours and doing the Christmas show at Radio City and different things. And then came 2000, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to see if this LA thing is worth trying to make a go at it. So I moved to LA with, no connections or nothing, and 20 years later, here I am. So ready to get out, though. Ready to get out of here, tell you that.
Now, you do stunt work and acting. Do you have a preference?
No, I mean, I do either, but yeah, I mean, it's always, you're more in the camera view. More people know you from the acting than they do the stunt, stuff. But like in Project X, I was hired as a stunt guy, but everybody remembers me, getting in a fight, getting put into an oven, and then coming out of the oven and then whooping, God knows what, all the way down the hallway. And I drove a car into a pool, and, but that's a stunt guy thing. So, it was a nice payday. So you get better dailies and weeklies, if you're scale. I mean, I'm not like a Tom Cruise kind of guys where they get the multi-million, dollar deals and stuff like that. I wish, I wouldn't want to get out of the business, but, I'm close to making what I got to make so I can retire and then, just lay back on a pension and, let my wife work.
That's every man's dream. That's my dream.
Yeah.
What was your first big break?
Well, I did, like I said, I did the Christmas show at Radio City. But as far as film wise, I would say I did Planet of the Apes, the one with Mark Wahlberg, and we're actually, I don't know if I'm going to be in it or not, but I'm training for the next one. I'm going to start filming in the beginning of the year. The newer set of those Planet of the Apes movies.
Those are good movies.
Yeah, they're cool. So training for that, and then, but I would say Pirates is probably the biggest, break. I mean, that everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody's seen Pirates because, I've never seen Lord of the Rings or I've never seen what's that show on HBO?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I've never seen Game of Thrones.
You know what? I swear to God, I've never seen Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. It's not my bag.
Right. The only reason I haven't seen Game of Thrones is that I got rid of HBO once The Sopranos and Oz was off.
Yeah.
Then I never rented, or I never, stayed with the HBO thing. So, and I remember before, I'm sure Peter's amazing. He's one of the, great actors of our time. But I remember the name, my name being brought up, for whatever character he did, before they even went to, to production. They're like, oh, this guy, and blah, blah, blah. We were doing Pirates, I want to say Pirates 5 when Game of Thrones started. So I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway because I would have, I would have been doing Pirates 5. So, even though probably Game of Thrones turned out to be a pretty nice payday.
Oh, I'm sure he's.
Shit. Yeah.
Well, and I'm jealous of him because he got to make out with Melissa McCarthy in the movie The Boss, and for some odd reason I have a crush on her, so I was pretty jealous of him.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
How did you meet up with Howard Stern?
Oh, God. Well, that was when I was working in New York back in the day, and a buddy of mine actually ran into Stuttering John in the streets, and he's the one who got me in the business in the first place. And they came back, and it was in between our shows, and I guess they said, "Oh, they're going to be doing this pay-per-view event with Howard for New Year's Eve."
New Year's Rotten Eve, I remember that.
Yeah, and they needed a little guy to do it with them, so Mike was going to do it, and then Mike came back to the room because we had to do a show, and he told me about it, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go with me to the meeting, whatever?" And so I'm like, "Okay." So I go with him over to the radio station, and they're looking at him, then they look at me, they look back at him, look at me, and all of a sudden they were like, "Mike, no offense, but Marty looks a lot more like a little boy. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Okay," because I didn't want to, step on my buddy's toes. But Mike was like, "Yeah, do it." So, I did that. And
I just put two and two together. Were you the boy in the opening skit, the Michael Jackson skit?
That's it.
Oh,
yep.
I believe it or not, I watched that maybe a month ago when they brought up the whole thing that he did with Sherman Hemsley as Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson. I actually had the disc, so I went back and watched it. Okay, now I know exactly.
Yep. There you go.
That was.
But yeah, the meeting Howard. Politically, we're not the same at all, but but it led to a lot of appearances on the show, and then I would usually do Fridays, and then on Fridays, that's when they would go to the strip joint that he liked a lot, Scores, right after the show. So it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and he'd take a handful of guys over to to Scores, and they would give us each $20,000 in funny money to spend on the girls. Oh yeah, and here you are doing, God knows what, in secret. Nobody knows nothing, and I would say it's what was going on, but you're just kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, and such and such is sitting here with me, and whatever. It was kind of crazy. So yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
Now, were you there when it was Jackie or Artie, or did you actually go through both?
Both. I went through both.
I was an Artie fan.
I was a bigger fan of Jack. I like Jackie myself.
Okay, I liked Artie.
Yeah, see, Artie was okay, but Artie was just his jokes weren't as funny to me. He was just a fat slob to me. So, he's kind of, but it's really Fred. Fred does a lot of the writing himself too. So you're sitting in the studio, and a lot of the questions that Howard's getting is, they're flipping pieces of paper. Well, back in the day anyway, they would write something down and flip it over to Howard, and then Howard would ask a funny question, this and that. But, I'm really still close with Steve Grillo. So I liked it.
I remember
and I feel bad. Yeah, and I feel bad that, he never got paid as an intern, and he brought it up, and, they didn't, and then all of a sudden when he decided, well, I've got to get paid, I got to take care of my life or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they brought in, I forget what the kid's name was, but he ended up being a train wreck, and, he was there for a while, but now he's bloated, and just he doesn't have his shit together.
Is it Casey?
Yeah, Casey.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
it.
he flipped out, I remember.
Yeah, so, yeah, I kept wanting him to, he kept bringing in this guy, Hank, and I kept going, Hank isn't, what I did was to, make people laugh with you, not at you.
Yeah.
And I kept going, dude, get me in a ring with this guy, I just want to pummel him. And, but he was never sober enough to have done anything anyway. And then, the sad thing is he passed away, and I was in LA, and, I got a phone call, 3 in the morning here because it's 6 in the morning over there. And I'm like, Marty, where were you last night? Hank's dead. They made a joke out of it, like I, offed him or something. I'm like, all right, guys, that's not cool. But whatever. Funny.
What do you think? Now, I always say I suffered from the same problem as Jackie, where I would tell a joke and laugh at myself. So people have always compared me in that sense. But I always liked Artie. I think I like the the more blue collar, like you said, fat slob humor. When he left the show, though, I noticed like shortly after that's when it kind of started to become more of an attempt at mainstream with all the celebrity interviews and that. What do you think of the current state of the show? Do you think it's the same or?
Oh, is he still on?
It's still on.
I don't know.
It's still on. It's when Ronnie Mund is the highlight of the show. Nothing against Ronnie Mund. I love Ronnie Mund. When he's the highlight of the show, though, you've got some problems.
Yeah, I mean, again, Howard is so far left that the only people who are really going to go on there is going to be, left-leaning people, and I guess I don't know that mainstream people really want to go on there unless they're known for being, out there for some reason. But I mean, him and Donald used to be friends.
Yeah,
I remember going to his birthday party and sitting at the table with my date and my buddy Mike and his date, and then Donald and Marla, it was Marla at the time, and Joey Buttafuoco and Mary, whatever her name was, it Mary Jo?
Yeah,
I forget what Buttafuoco's wife's name was. Yep. And then there was another guy there with Rose McGowan, and I thought, dude, what is this, drag queen? It was Marilyn Manson, but I didn't know who the hell Marilyn Manson was at the time because it's not my kind of music.
Everybody,
but I remember, sitting there, and now, I don't know. It's just funny because Howard's Jewish, and who's done more for Israel and our relations than Trump?
Yeah.
Same thing with Black America or Hispanic America. It's really Trump has done a lot for everyone. I've always said since the '80s, because I was a Reagan kind of a guy, I've always been like, you need a businessman in there. Mm-hmm. No more politicians. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
So he wanted like a business, and the guy, donated the money he didn't need, and I don't know, whatever. We'll see what the next 2 weeks will know if there's a mass exodus or there's civil war.
Something will happen.
Yeah.
I did like, though, when they brought up about a month ago about when Howard was in blackface doing the thing with Whoopi, and I liked how he said, I wouldn't do it today, but I'm not going to apologize for doing it back then. And I kind of like that better than the average apology you get. He was just like, wouldn't do it now, ain't sorry I did it then. And I think that's why he didn't get any real heat for it. He was pretty honest about it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's a shock jock, so that was a good answer, I would have to say. I have to give him for that. You see, was he making out with Whoopi?
Yeah.
Or was he supposed to be Whoopi?
No, it was Sherman Helmsley dressed like Whoopi, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was funny.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't. And, and I remember, like, people would be like, well, how does Robin tolerate that? It's like, Robin's making millions of dollars. Robin don't care. It's shtick. I can even tell when I watch the live show, it's like, it's good, it's hard to spot, but they're still just doing a bit.
Yeah, that's all it is. Dude, she wouldn't be where she is without, and same thing with Baba Booey. Major producer of the show now, and, back then he was just a, stumbling idiot, even though he was a producer. And
wooden teeth.
Right. So what would you do if you didn't toe the line with Howard and follow his lead?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I still remember hearing, I have Sirius in all my cars, but I'm like, when I heard that he got, $500 million for 5 years to do Sirius, I'm like,
yeah,
dude, who's worth $100 million a year?
No.
That blows me away with my homes. It's like, what quarterback is worth $500 million? Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but so did some other guys. Joe Flacco, and look where he is now.
There's no way they recoup that money in subscriptions. It's impossible.
Nope.
But
so
if he can keep getting it, more power to him.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, that's capitalism at its best, right?
I mean, he changed radio,
right? So they like to complain about things, but at the same time, they're pouring gravy all over their steaks.
Oh God, yes.
So yeah.
Do you still keep in contact with any of them? Or?
Just the only one I talk to really is Oro, and not that I wouldn't talk to them or whatever, but I'm a afterthought. I don't know if they know how I politically lean. The funny thing is, I live like a mile from Joey Buttafuoco, and his new bimbo. Well, she's skinny, looks like cracked out whore, but. I get my car serviced at the transmission shop that she works at behind the desk. And even the guy that owns the shop is like, "Oh my God, she's such an idiot." He doesn't fire her, but it's like she works part time, and she's like, I better vote for Biden. Otherwise, Joey's not going to have health insurance. It's like, are you serious? Like. We should give a shit a guy who had millions of dollars whether he's going to have health insurance now because he's got. Well, fuck Joey Buttafuoco, He fucked me on it. Brought my car to him, my Corvette, to have it repainted. It took 6 months, and I went home for Easter, and when I came back, his shop was closed. I had no idea where my car was. Luckily, somebody that was working in that the automotive aisle were, different shops. So I think your car's over at Grand National Automotive or whatever. I went over there. Of course, it was there, and I went through a whole, hell with whatever. But I gave him $5,000, and he didn't do nothing. He didn't even talk to his own kid, Paul. So, yeah, I feel like going down and telling her to F off. Whatever.
Later on in the 2000s, you had a small part in Goldmember, didn't you, Austin Powers?
Oh, in Goldmember, we did an alternate. I think they had like 3 alternate openings, and that's all I did. And that was normally has a big old Broadway opening. Yeah. And we did one where it was all little people, because it was made it where it was Me was the main man. And, the whole cast was little for the opening. And you can see it on the DVD, but I don't think that's the one that they used in the theater. So, yeah, that was it. I mean, that's when I first got out of here. I didn't know nothing. Would I do it again? Probably not, because it's like, I wasn't exerting any talent or anything. I was just one of many little people there trying to get a paycheck.
Did you meet Vern Troyer?
Oh, I've known Vern for probably 40 years.
Oh, okay.
And I was with him like 2 weeks before he passed away, working on something. And I knew he was going downhill. He was like, I just think he was really depressed, and because we're the same age, except he was born on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, so he's probably like 6 months older than me, and but you get up here and you realize, man, he had all this money, and did any of the girls that he was ever with, you always wonder, like, are they with me because of my money, or are they with me because they really, dig me, kind of like that. So I felt bad for him. And he grew up Amish, so imagine that, growing up Amish, and then all of a sudden going from nothing to having everything at your disposal. So,
like, I liked him in the Austin Powers movies, but I mean, he didn't get to do a lot. But he was in he was in Shasta McNasty, the TV show. I thought he was absolutely hysterical in that. He was on Jack of All Trades, where he played Napoleon. I mean, he was funny. I would have liked to have seen him do more films where he had more dialogue, more stuff to do, because he was actually very, very just naturally funny.
Yeah, he didn't have any lines in the
No.
is mini me. No, not one.
Make like a
But
grunt
yeah,
here and
the
there.
other things were great. But yeah, I don't know, man. Just shit, I was gonna say something about it, and I forgot where I was going.
I remember him on the
Chestnut.
Surreal Life.
Oh yeah, see, that's when he was drinking hard, and kind of a sad thing right there, watching him, pee in the corner and this and that. And,
I've got this weird feeling just because of how that show was that that kind of stuff was encouraged.
yep. And the funny thing is, I know you had said he played Napoleon, but
Yeah.
Napoleon was actually 5'10". He wasn't small, so that history again, dupes you. And even back then, 400 years ago, whatever Napoleon was, or maybe it's 200 years ago, 5'10" is kind of tall, right?
It's about my height, yeah, so.
Right. So, but yeah, it's just another one of those. I tell people all the time to learn history better, and I'd love for Howard to watch something like America, Imagine a World Without Her by Dinesh D'Souza, and see all the real facts. We shouldn't celebrate Christopher Columbus, but at the same time, we shouldn't bag on him for all these American Indians that that died, because he never even landed in North America. He landed in the Caribbean islands. So it's like, can't blame a man. He didn't land here, so stop blaming him.
I remember when they had the protest on the Soprano episode, and the guys were pretty hot about that one.
Yeah, see? But, yeah, I remember that. That was that was the best show.
Sopranos. That was one of my favorite shows of all time, so that made me think of that episode.
But yeah, I was just thinking the other day, I watched this been running lately, and I seen Rocky Balboa's statue, because it's not up on the top of the stairs anymore.
Oh, I didn't
But
know
the
that.
city of Philadelphia has moved it down into a park real close there. And I'm like, why haven't these leftists, destroyed the Rocky statue? It's like Stallone is a big time right wing,
Yeah.
person. It's like I'm surprised they haven't tried to tear that down or to face that in any way.
I want to know why they moved it down. I mean, the run of the stairs is the iconic part. That's where it belongs.
Yeah, it was up there for a long time, and then they just, I think, since it is just a movie, and it's not a real, whatever, not a real person. So
Now, I had mentioned you were in Cradle to the Grave. What was it like being in the ring with not just Jet Li, but that was Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, all these UFC fighters? Was that?
Yeah, Randy Couture. Yeah, that was awesome. I was just talking about that today with my the guy that is trained. He does for Planet of the Apes, and those guys were awesome. And that was right before the crap went down, because Chuck and Tito were like best buddies.
Yeah.
And Randy was too. I mean, I still talk to Randy, and Randy's girlfriend, actually, I don't know if he's married or not, but she's running for state Arizona representative. So, for Congress. So, so I still talk to them every once in a while. They live in, or actually, not Arizona, my bad. Vegas, Nevada. So Nevada, yeah. Running for state office in Nevada. So, he's great. Yeah, Randy's awesome. I mean, they're all three cool dudes. I mean, I love the fights, but I was always kind of rooting for Tito all the time, but you can never root against Randy because he's such a nice guy. And not that I didn't love Chuck, because I do, but I was always, I just like that bad boy, right wing Tito Ortiz.
I love Tito. He's my favorite fighter. I spent 3 years trying to interview him. I finally gave up on that, but I was, part of me was like, in that last fight, I was like, yes, he finally knocked Chuck out. But the other half, of me was like, who on earth gave Chuck Liddell a license to fight? He could have died. So it was a real split for me, because that was real dangerous for him to get in that ring.
Well, that was Dana, a buck's a buck. So,
What
I
was?
mean, I'm surprised they don't try to, lure Khabib, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
back out of retirement to fight, Matt St. Pierre or even Conor McGregor. That'd be a big payday.
I remember when
But
Brock fought, or when Couture fought Lesnar, and I remember
yeah,
watching it, and I'm like, Randy's clearly the better fighter, but I'm like, you got a guy not only about 20 years younger, he's about a foot taller, and he's got 100 pounds on him. I was like, how is this even a fair
easily.
matchup? You've got
Yeah,
an athlete. I mean, nothing against Lesnar. He's a roided up monster.
right.
Fighting a
Well,
guy
how
who's
old
in
are
his
you?
upper 40s. I'm
How old are
46.
you? Oh, dude, yeah, I remember when I first started watching the UFC before Dana had it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like UFC 1, and Dan Severn and those guys were in it. And if you could wear shoes, but if you wore shoes, you couldn't kick.
Yeah.
And it was like it was a process of elimination throughout the night, and for a prize of $50,000.
Yeah,
So
change.
guys like Tank Abbott and stuff, and I remember watching it, and I think I smoked something that night, and I was getting sick to my stomach because I was like not used to seeing such like brutality, like and once you cut them, you could literally try to open their cuts with your fingers, if you had them on the ground, and blood would just be all over the place, and I'm just like, oh, this is nasty.
Well, then
But
Keith
hey, I love
Hackney.
it,
Remember when Hackney
Yeah.
hit Joe Song in the balls, like, what was it, 8 or 9 times, just totally
Oh,
unprotected? I mean, yeah, that was brutal back then.
I still think one of my favorite fights, a good friend of mine, Don Fry,
Oh, he's the
and
man.
yeah, and him and this Japanese guys are standing. This Japanese guy
Yep.
is standing there for like 2 or 3 minutes, just pounding each other back, in the face. Both got a hand around the other guy's back of the head, and boom, 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 and the Japanese guy's face just swollen up, looking like an orangutan.
I remember that was a pride fight. I talked to the guy
Yeah.
that directed Don Fry in Godzilla because I was like, how did
Oh,
you
God.
cast Don Fry in Godzilla? And he's like, he's Don Fry, So
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
only answer I need right there.
I'm always looking for, like, when's somebody gonna throw me a bone? Just to have me in. I'm like, because I thought the same thing. I was giving him shit, but one night we were hanging out up in Sacramento. I'm like, dude, how do you end up doing a Godzilla movie? But then again, Raymond Burr was in the very first Godzilla movie, so
But you know what Don
Well,
Fry
yeah.
and Couture were in that was better was Big Stan.
Oh, what's that?
That's where Rob Schneider didn't want to get raped in prison, so he hired David Carradine to teach him martial arts. And Don Fry was the
God.
first guy he beat up so he could be the toughest guy in the yard.
Oh shit! I gotta have to check that out.
One of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
See, I like Rob Schneider.
I do too.
I worked with him on the Animal. I doubled the orangutan that he fights or something.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what I did, but then you got guys like when I did Corky Romano. Oh God, whatever his name is from.
Christopher Catan.
Yeah, he's kind of a douchebag, kind of full of himself. Looks like a lot of these SNL guys to me are they're not the same quality as the Chevy Chases, the Bill Murrays, and
Oh no.
Eddie Murphys of the day, John Belushi. These guys nowadays, I'm like, okay. And you got that one guy, the big kid, God, what was he? He used to be in Kenan and Kel, I think. The big black kid.
Yeah.
Well, he's a man now, but
Kenan
yeah,
Thompson.
dude, he's
Been on there for
see,
20
one thing,
years.
I can't do things with him with not with him. I'm just saying I can't watch him, or like I loved Friends, but my least favorite character was Phoebe because it always seemed like she was breaking character, like laughing at her own joke, or and I feel that's how Keenan is. It's where it's like he does things and it's like he's doing everything he can not to break character. So that's what's supposed to be funny about the show is not breaking, doing it for real and not being, you don't laugh at the joke. But whatever.
What was it like doing Leprechaun 6?
Oh God, I almost died. I was Warwick is a good friend of mine, so I was doing that, and we were going to do we were working on some airwam stuff, and it was like 2:00 in the morning, and they had the bottle turned up to like 400 pounds of pressure, and I'm like, dude, that's going to throw me like a mile. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. So they turned it down to 100, and I only weighed like 90 pounds at the time. And there's two ways to do it: either run and hit the ram, and that throws you, or you can be in a standing position, and then you squat down, and then you hit the button yourself, and which is what I should have done. But the assistant stunt coordinator on that, he had the button, and he's like, okay, so when I get down to 1, I want you to be in a crouch position. And it was late, we're 12 hours already, and we're rehearsing stuff. And he's like, all right, 3, 2, 1, and I just started to crouch, and he hit the button, and it threw me like 20 feet straight up in the air, and then it came down straight on the top of my head. And then, like when you get hurt, the first thing you do is you try to get up and walk around, like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So I had a bandana on that night, and still, all of a sudden, I felt like warm stuff coming down my arm, because I put my hand up there, and I saw the blood gush in, and I'm like, I'm fine, and then all of a sudden, the buildings and the sidewalk and everything started rolling around. I'm like, uh-oh. Sat down, vomited, they rushed me to the hospital like, 2 in the morning, and luckily there was a plastic surgeon happened to be in the emergency room, and you can't even see the scar, but it was like a big old, almost the size of a horseshoe of my scalp just pulled back from hitting the ground.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I won't lie to you. I never saw it. I saw the first 3 or 4 Leprechauns. I know they keep making them, but
they don't even make them with work anymore.
It's the little wrestling guy now, isn't it? Hornswoggle.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I guess.
I think I didn't watch.
That's just because Warwick doesn't want to do them probably anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame. It's probably a couple hours worth of makeup and everything. I wouldn't.
Yeah. On that Hornswoggle, I don't even know. I don't know how good of an actor he is, but he's definitely not going to bring the Warwick Davis, to it. So it's another one of those things. Just leave it alone. If you can't get the original guy.
What was Van Helsing like?
Oh, that was cool. We were major suit work, and behind these masks, I could barely even see because you had the goggles were even kind of scratched up, so you couldn't see our eyes, whatever. And doing a stunt that I'm supposed to fall off this these like not stairs, like rafters or something, down into this pool of this big like tub or something. And as I fell over the railing and on it into it, I was supposed to get into it. I ended up hitting the side of the big tub, and and almost broke my ribs. So that was crazy. But yeah, that was cool. I mean, I like working with him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, they were, the big. I mean, I think everybody was figuring that was going to be another franchise, but they just did the one, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. I think, and that's the worst thing about nowadays. That everything's going. They're realizing, we can just bring everything right to streaming, and they're trying to hold out and bring things to the theater. But if everybody can just enjoy these things at home right away, I mean, why you're not going to go to the theater anymore? So that could be a detriment.
Like I love going to the theater. It's what I missed the most during the pandemic. But if you came to me and said, "Hey, it's going to be another year for Fast and the Furious 9, or for $100 you can watch it in your home," I'd give you the $100 right now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, I prefer the theater, but I also don't want to wait I mean, what's going to happen? All these movies that are, you figure everything from this year is now next year. That puts things so back. Is that a hole they can climb out of?
I don't know how. I mean, because somebody still owes somebody rent for the building.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like very rarely are the theaters total standalones. They're usually connected in some kind of a strip mall, and yes, I mean you could reduce the rent maybe somehow because there's no electricity or nothing to do, but somebody's still going to want their money.
Our Alamo opened up here, and it was open for maybe a week and a half. If you bought a ticket, they automatically block out the seats on both sides and all. But I think they realized it was like, okay, well, if we sell 20 tickets, that's 60 more we have to box out, and there's no movies. It was like Batman, Face Off, Hard Target. It's like nothing that's going to drag someone out during a pandemic to see that.
Right.
So yeah, and then after that, they closed again. I mean, they'll reopen eventually, but not now.
Yeah, that's something like you should, for the diehard fans of like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, like, hey, we're going to bring it back to the theater, in new 4D or I don't know, whatever, 4K, and, a new experience. Maybe you could get the fans to come, and hang out for a crazy amount of money, but I don't know.
Now you're clearly your most famous role is Pirates. How did you get that? How did you get that part?
Oh, well, I was working on Looney Tunes Back in Action, and
movie.
I played one of the dancing Yosemite Sams, and then what the hell I was working on? Oh, and I was working on Haunted Mansion already, and that was what Disney thought was going to be their blockbuster. They didn't realize that Pirates was going to be the bomb that it is. Mm-hmm. They thought, Haunted Mansion would be the blockbuster. But anyway, a stunt guy was like, he's the one who said, hey, Marty, you need to see George Ruby, the stunt coordinator, and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to be doing a movie about Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm already working on these other two things right now. He's like, you should go and put your name in. So luckily I did, and I owe that guy, everything. So Tommy Rosales is my man. I love that guy. And he's in everything. I mean, go back to Scarface and all kinds of things. I'll be like watching something, I'm like, holy shit, that's Tommy, because he's a stunt guy, but he's always got, a close-up here or there, and small part, and it's like, damn, you must be in everything. So,
how's Depp?
Depp's cool. I love Depp. Depp's, he's not a fan of Trump, I'm sure, but I just love. He's super cool. He's so personable, and he signed I had a chopper made of the black. It was named the Black Pearl, and it was in Easy Rider magazine, and. So Johnny did a photo shoot with me and, my bike, and it's got Johnny with the classic pose of him from the poster. Mm-hmm. And then he autographed the gas tank, and needless to say, I had it for like 15 years, and then July 2nd, I crashed it.
No.
Broke my hip, hit a tree doing 30, and so right now it's at the shop where the guy built it. And I just haven't decided what I'm going to do with it, because the gas tank alone is worth money. But do I want to make a lamp out of some of the parts, or do I want to get it back up and running and just not maybe just use it only for selling things? So because I just was taking it out for a spin, and my wife said don't go anywhere, blah blah blah. And I didn't listen to her. I got about a mile away from the house, and I guess the carburetor or whatever was all loaded up with gasoline, so it started acting up, and it started going down and going squirrely, and hit a tree, like I said, at 30, and, tried to stand up, and I was like, oh, broke my hip.
Not good.
So, yeah.
No, I think he's the best actor in Hollywood. I've said that for the last probably 15 years. Comedy, action, drama, horror, family,
Yeah, he
everything.
can sing,
He's
do it
different
all.
in everything. He's my favorite actor.
I like him. I like. I mean, I'm more of the old school guys like Cagney and James Stewart and all that shit. But I find that I really love Mel Gibson.
I like Mel Gibson.
My daughter hates. She'll be like, like Patriot again or Braveheart again. I can watch it from anywhere in the movie and just go, I'm going to watch the rest of the movie. But I love Mel Gibson stuff, and I like who's the guy that did Gladiator?
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I like him. I love Depp. Don't get me wrong, he's probably easily all around the best that we have. I like who's the guy that did American Sniper?
Is that
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's filming with those. They're doing some kind of a 70s theme show or something, and he's in it and he's producing it, I think. But yeah, I like Bradley Cooper too.
I like him as Rocket in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that bummed me out because it would have been a great part for a little person.
That's all. It's all CG'd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally CG, but still, I mean, all he has to do is go and do his voice later on, and all the other guys. But same thing with Ted. I worked on Ted too, and it's like would love to have been able to do, play the teddy bear or something, but that's all CG too. So whatever.
How was Zombieland?
Oh, that was fun. We did 5.5 weeks, and then the part I ended up doing didn't even make the film, but it was cool because I like Woody. Woody's a great guy. 5 weeks in it was somewhere in Georgia, somewhere around Atlanta. So it was a good time. Just hanging out with stunt guys the whole time, and because it's really a small cast. Obviously, the rest is just all stunt guys as zombies. So.
Because you came back for part 2 as well.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I was supposed to. I didn't get back into.
Oh.
So.
I
don't know why they have me down in the credits, or they have me on IMDb for it, but I didn't end up doing anything.
I think they're fun. They're my son. My son's 11. They're his favorite zombie movies. Like, he don't care about night, dawn, day, none of that. He's a Zombieland man. Yeah,
Zombieland's great. I'm kind of over the whole, because I know the makeup guys that do Walking Dead, and I'm like, when are you guys going to think outside the box and have somebody who's not pretty, or your token black guy, or this or that? I know they do. He's a great actor. I'm just saying, they don't have any handicapped people or anything, So, I mean, unless you're a zombie and you're walking around in only half your body, but when are they going to have a hero that's, different, somebody outside the box?
Now, let me ask you a weird question, because I know you weren't in it. When I was a little kid, and still as an adult, I'm a fan of the film Under the Rainbow with the.
I knew you were going to say that. And somebody just asked me about that the other day too.
And I have to. Now I'm assuming you've seen it.
Oh yeah, dude, I loved it. I remember they had a casting call. I think I was 11 when they made that, 1980. But they did send out a casting call, but my parents weren't interested in. I mean, the guy that they went with for Rollo was more than 11 years old. He was, probably early 20s. I think I worked with him on, his name was Corky, right? I think I worked with him on my show called, the Knee High PI.
Oh, Inch High Private, or Knee High, that was the Comedy Central thing, right?
Yeah. But I ended up torching him. He's part of the, lawn jockey liberation people or something, and so, I worked with him. But no, he was the best for the part, and obviously Billy Barty is...
Oh, he's great.
He's a god. So...
Do you think, I guess my question is, because I have the poster in my garage somewhere, do you think that movie would get made today? And if it did, do you think it would have the same marketing?
Do you think Blazing Saddles would get made today?
God, no. But it's one of my
There you
favorite
go.
films, and I have no shame in admitting that.
Exactly, but that's exactly it. It's like, just like what Howard said, those guys weren't, they're not going to apologize for making that. Gene Wilder and everybody who was in that. It was a great movie.
Because I know the poster of Under the Rainbow, Billy Bartley's got his gun, and it's aimed right at Chase's crotch.
Yep,
And it's like way down low under the rainbow. It's like, if
Yeah.
it got made, I think it would have to be different. But no, I mean, like, I think it's a funny film.
I think actually they probably could get away with it because Hollywood still doesn't look to make things, they don't give a rat's ass about little people or whatever. They do a little bit, but they it's not the same thing as, blackface or, you can't be the black sheriff in Blazing Saddles. That's totally different. You'd have a riot on your hands. But I don't think Hollywood would be like scared of, if we made Under the Rainbow, because it really is just a bunch of little people who are in town to make the Wizard of Oz. That's where it's supposed to be taking place at the same time, and that's why the rumors were that when they were making the Wizard of Oz, that the little people were all over, Burbank, ripping up the town and being crazy, but I don't think that's the truth. But that's what they played it up as.
Well, and if you think about Blazing Saddles, the black sheriff is the smart one. Everyone else is a bumbling. They're all idiots. He's the one that saves the day. It's like in Big Trouble in Little China. The Asians are the heroes. Kurt Russell, the white guy, he's the bumbling fool.
Yep.
People just don't always pay attention to that, when they watch him.
Right. So I don't know. Like I said, I bet you if somebody wanted to, they could get that done, and the little people would line up to do it. Because there's not a lot of work for little people in a big bunch of little people in one single film like that. So, I guess you could get it done. I don't know why. Maybe somebody should, revisit it, but I don't know if you could get somebody as funny as Chevy Chase to do it.
Yeah, or, that cast is kind of timeless, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know if it could be. But,
I guess you could get like Selma Hayek and Bradley Cooper to play those two parts, and get somebody to play the Billy Barty part, and just let the little people tear up the hotel, and you have a film.
I got to ask you, because I've taken up quite a bit of your time already. Do you have any advice for people trying to get into the business nowadays?
People ask me that all the time. I don't know what to tell them because I don't know how. I know I got here after 10 years of little people that I knew telling me not to go because I would never work, because there's so many little people in LA. And every little person, well, I shouldn't say every little person, because there's doctors and there's, lawyers, and there's, a lot of mainstream people don't think that, little people are smart enough or whatever enough to be in a real profession. So they just think we're all like, circus clowns or the butts of people's jokes to, all waiting for a handout or on some kind of, disability paycheck or something. But I don't know. I think we could get it made.
Do you have anything on the horizon coming up?
I'm training for something, and I can't really talk about it because it'll be a butcher for me.
I got you.
It'll jinx me, and then actually I'm leaving Friday. I'm flying to New Orleans to do a show that's coming to an end called Claws. I think it's about 5 ladies.
Show. Yeah,
that one, and Neil Swan or something. And,
yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah, Niecy Nash is in it, right? Mm-hmm. But other than that, me and a buddy of mine are going to do an angel wrestling the devil on a piano. So that's it. It was just again, it's a stunt job, and I wasn't doing anything. And hey, I'll take the money. So
for all your fans, are you online? Like, do you have a website, a Twitter, anywhere people can follow you?
well, yeah, I mean, I'm on both Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, mostly under the stunt run. Right? Is that I think, yeah. And then my wife and I sell jewelry at moviestarbling.com, right? Yeah, moviestarbling.com. I don't do it as much as my wife. It's her company, but we sell really good jewelry, and we have fun. We go out live and sell jewelry. It's all like everything's $5, so it's
cool.
And it's really good jewelry. Yeah, and it's stuff that doesn't turn your neck green. It's lead and zinc. Is it lead and zinc? Oh, lead and nickel free. Yeah, I'm not a good salesman. Sorry about that.
No, I'll put the link in the interview here.
Yeah, do that for me. Yeah,
I'm happy to do that.
moviestarbling.com.
I'll send you a Facebook request when I get on it later too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you could do it again one day.
Yeah, for sure, bud. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. You have been listening to the Chronicles of Hollywood History. Thank you from Gomez Richmond Productions.